Hi, this is Courtney, and welcome to the Caring Framework. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. This is week 2 of the Caring Framework, and we are looking at our first dimension, which is context. So this video here is just a visual tutorial, so if you are looking for the full episode, which will help everything from this video make sense, I will put the link to that in the description below. But today I'm going to show you what happens when we use the week 2 context instructions versus when we don't. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm telling ChatGPT to start fresh. So I don't want it to reference its memory or our past conversations. I just want to make sure that we're going to start with a blank slate. So that way the results I get on my computer are going to be really similar to the ones that you get on yours. So ChatGPT is just saying that it's confirming that this is the only conversation it's going to reference. From there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run my no context prompt. This one is about writing a newsletter with announcements about 3 updates. So we've hit a milestone and read 1,000 books. There's an upcoming event on December 10th at 6 o'clock, and there's a new process launching on Monday with details to follow. So what we get is this super basic little highlights thing. Like, it doesn't even have like an intro, like, hey, how are you doing or anything. It could literally be to anybody. There's no context whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to a new chat. I'm going to do the same thing with isolating this conversation. And then I'm going to go ahead and upload the caring instructions. So they are quite long this week. Again, I discussed them further in the full podcast episode, but I just did the quick start version. Today I didn't go ahead and customize them at all. So I just went ahead and said, here are the instructions. So now it's just, confirming that it got those things. And so now we're going to go ahead and give it some context. We're going to tell it who this is for and what it's actually doing. So it's writing an announcement about those updates, and it's for families of 3rd graders. So it's going to immediately start asking us clarifying questions. There are 7 here asking about like who these families are, what they already know, and what they are currently dealing with in their lives. And I answer these questions based on what an actual teacher would probably know. So they're part of the general school community, overwhelmed with the holidays. They've heard about the concert briefly. They need to watch for a new parking safety email. So now the AI is going to tell me what it's prioritizing. So clarity and low cognitive load, personal relevance, scanning friendly structure, reassuring tone. And then there's the message that it creates there. So if we notice the opening, we have a few important updates to share as we head into a very full December. It acknowledges that they're overwhelmed right away. The milestone is framed as their children's hard work and that it's worth celebrating. The concert reminder doesn't just say like this is happening. It says our students have a fairly big role, so parents know why it matters. And then the new parking process, it leads with safety. So important safety update for all families because that's what parents care about most. So it's a totally different email from the initial generic version that we saw. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my next chat here. We are going to run another prompt, but for a different audience this time. We're going to use the same facts, except instead of books, we're going to say we finished 50 projects. So I'm just going ahead here and uploading my caring instructions again one more time. And then I'll put in those 3 pieces of information along with the context, so the audience, which is for business clients. So once we hit submit on that, again, we're going to get a list of questions to clarify. So I went ahead and answered like about the audience. So it's a mixed group of long-term and newer clients. This information is all new to them. They're busy with the holidays again. They need to watch out for the new account process email. And then the event is a free dinner with families welcome. We're giving it in a formal newsletter style. So the AI is going to adjust its approach. It's saying it's going to reduce cognitive load, building from zero information since none of this is familiar, working its professional tone with a warm edge and clear action cues. And then here is our result. So, hi everyone, as we move towards the end of year, we're starting off with a professional greeting that acknowledges the timing. The milestones become we appreciate your trust in allowing us to do our work. It's about partnership and not just the number. The event is positioned as a chance to connect and reflect over the year and to celebrate as a community. It's about morale and connection. It's not an obligation. And the new process, there are clear stakes. Please keep an eye out since this update includes new login instructions to ensure your access remains smooth and secure. So even though the initial task was the exact same and we gave the exact same caring instructions, the outcomes for both of these, just based on the audience and those context question answers, is vastly different. So if you listen to the podcast, you would have heard my pro tip about if you communicate with the same audience regularly, like a weekly newsletter or a monthly client update, you can create like a profile that you keep like with the caring instructions that you can copy and paste, and it really changes how this process works. So we'll start with the business client profile here. So I'm including everything I know about this audience. There's 100 clients. There's a mix of long-term and newer decision makers ages 35 to 55. They read emails on their mobile during their commute between meetings. They're in their year-end planning mode. They value, ROI and efficiency. And the big pain point for this particular email is the account access and it being critical for year-end reporting and invoicing. So I've pasted both the profile and the task in here, and the questions that we get asked are completely different. So instead of focusing on who's our audience, it's asking what's changing about this process. Instead of what's the context, it's asking how urgent is this action. Instead of what do they value, it's asking what tone do you want for the event. So there is a huge difference here. The profile already answered all of the foundational who are these people questions. And so now the AI can skip straight to the strategic execution details, the questions about how to deliver this message and not who it's for. So we can see this throughout the message here. This updated system is built to be more reliable and much easier to navigate, especially for year-end reporting and invoicing. So that's not a generic note. That is targeted to exactly what this audience needs at this particular time. The profile didn't just save us a ton of time. It improved the strategic quality of the output because the AI had a fuller context right from the beginning. And the best part about this really is that we can use that same profile every time you want to write to these clients. The foundational context doesn't actually change unless you have to do like a major update. But the task-specific details will end up changing. So I'm going to do one more demo here from like a teacher standpoint. We have a profile here for families of 28 third graders, so 25 households total, a mix of stay-at-home parents, working parents, and guardians. We have 5 families who speak Spanish at home and 2 that speak Mandarin. The reading level should prioritize accessibility. We've mentioned when they will be reading this email, how they're going to be reading it, probably on their phones. We're talking about the holiday season being overwhelming, multiple school events. They value celebrating their children's achievements and clear action items and safety information. The pain point for this particular task is information overload from multiple teachers and activities. And they're already familiar with the classroom routines, a weekly homework structure, and the main school policies. So that is a lot of context. So we're going to watch what happens here when I give the AI this profile along with the task again. So we have 6 totally different questions again. So for the winter concert, is there anything parents need to do ahead of time? Do you want the newsletter to signal urgency about the drop off routine, or do you want to keep it neutral? Should I include Spanish and Mandarin translations? Do we want it to be scannable with headers or narrative paragraphs? These aren't discovery questions, these are execution questions. The AI already knows who the families are and what they're dealing with and what matters to them. And now it's asking the specifics of this particular communication. So it's going to give us its approach once we answer those questions. Clear headers in short chunks so it's easy to skim on the phone. Offer quick Spanish and Mandarin summaries to support multilingual families because the profile tagged that there was language considerations. And so I asked, yeah, go ahead and include those. There's a call out for the class milestone in a way that feels like a shared win because the profile said that they value celebrating their children's achievements. And the AI is making strategic decisions based on the audience reality that I gave it up front. And you can see that context all the way throughout the message here. We have Spanish and Mandarin summaries for each section. And I took those to a different translator and they were really accurate. We say thank you for staying on top of everything during this already packed season. So we're acknowledging the holiday overwhelm. There are clear headers for quick scanning on mobile. The drop-off routine leads with this change is for student safety because safety information is what they value. Every choice in this message comes from understanding the specific audience's reality. And just like the business example, you could save this profile and reuse it every week for the whole year because your audience doesn't change, or in this case at least, it doesn't change until next year when you get a new class. So only the specific update or task will change. And that's the power of having user profiles or audience profiles saved. It's really strategic. You're going to get consistent quality, and you save a lot of time once that's already set up. It also means that you get to spend more time focusing on like the execution of the email itself, without having to focus on the discovery aspect of your audience since you already know who they are and what they value. This just helps you to tailor these messages towards helping them to be able to access and retain that information. I go into this in detail on the podcast again, so if you haven't listened to it yet, check it out. I've put the link in the description below. And one more thing that I haven't mentioned yet that I do want to point out, at the end of every single one of these conversations, the AI asked a reflective question. So that's step 4 of the instructions, and it's actually really important to the core of what the caring framework is about. So if you, again, listen to the podcast, we said that our mind is like a desk, and our long-term memory is a filing cabinet. So right now you are consciously thinking about context. Who's my audience and what do they need and what's on their desk? And that's taking up space right now. But those reflective questions are designed to help move that conscious thinking into your long-term filing cabinet. So it starts to become automatic. You are building those habits by reflecting on these practices and this process. So the AI asked in one of them, what did you notice about this audience context that would help you to recognize those cues next time without needing to be prompted? So it's not asking you to evaluate the message, it's asking you to notice the patterns. So what cues tipped you off? What would you look for next time? So this is metacognition. So you're thinking about your thinking, and that's how you build strong habits. So after you've answered these reflective questions 10, 20 times, you start to automatically scan for those yourselves. So, oh, this person's probably overwhelmed and they're probably reading it on mobile. So that becomes something that you just know before you even sit down to start writing. And that's the goal of caring. We're not trying to make you dependent on AI. We're using AI to coach us to think about context and to think about our audience automatically. Again, it's about that intentionality of trying to connect with your audience and other people in a way that's more meaningful. So the reflection questions are how that transfer happens from conscious practice to automatic habit. So that's it for our demo today. If you, again, want the research about why this process works, cognitive load theory, universal design, check out the full episode on Spotify. The week 2 instructions are below as well. I've put a link to the ongoing list on my LinkedIn, so I'll just compile all the weeks in one spot. So you can try it out. Drop a comment if you do. I'd love to hear how your experience goes. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week for when we talk about affirmation.